guys, good morning. It's Tracy Wilson, and you are watching today's Unlock show. Boy, have you ever done this? Oh my freaking God, what the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I do it? Probably, I'm hoping I'm talking to some of you guys because today's show is really going to be talking about that. I'm going to kind of uncover some secrets and some things that I suppose have happened to me and share some of my story in the hope that it's going to speak to some of you today and help you to overcome whatever is going on. Because like you, I have been there, I have done that, and I have had many times where I've had tears and wondered what the heck is wrong with me. So stay tuned for today's show because I'm going to share with you what I've actually done to overcome all of that and not to have those thoughts anymore. So hang around. So if you're watching right now, you're probably seeing us on multiple different places. So you're either on Facebook, YouTube, in multiple different groups. You are probably watching us now inside, or watching me right now, inside of the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life. And if you are not in that group, then I would suggest that you get a wriggle on and get yourself on over there inside of Facebook and get yourself inside that group, because that's where we share a whole lot of tips, tools and information to help you thrive in your business, your family and your life. And there's loads of cool people in there, so that's the place to be. If you're listening on a podcast, then I'm going to try and be as descriptive. Whoa, what's going on with my screen? I'm going to try and be as descriptive as I can so I can describe to you the things that were going on with me and that are probably, if you're listening, going on with you. You might be saying to yourself right now, what the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I do X, Y, Z, whatever that might be? So I want to share with you the steps that I've taken to really kind of rid that out of my life and ensure that I'm able to move forward without having to beat myself up constantly, which, again, you might be doing yourself. So as per normal, if you're watching right now and not just listening on a podcast, you're able to communicate with me. So head on over to the chat box and just communicate with me as we go through today's session, and I'll make sure that I answer any questions. And thank you for those of you that are wishing me happy birthday. My birthday is tomorrow, and I'll share a little bit about that too. And, I suppose, when you get to 45, I will be tomorrow. Oh my God, I can't believe that I'm 45 years old tomorrow. There's some stuff that you learn throughout your life, and you get to a point where you just become really comfortable with who you are. And if I could share that with someone who's a bit younger than me, that is probably going through their 20s and their 30s, beating themselves up, and you get to your 40s and it's like, you know what? I don't really have to start pleasing anybody anymore. I need to start sort of thinking about myself and loving myself and doing all the things that I want to do, that also, then start to help other people. So that's what today's session is all about. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. So the first thing I wanted to start with is that wanting to let everybody know that it's okay. You're probably going to have this sort of stuff go on, in your life. And particularly if you're in business, business, we go through these cyclical phases. We go through the points where you start out in business and you're all, you're loving it and you're all enthusiastic, and you start out in year one and things start going really, things are going really well. Year two rolls around and things are probably still going okay. You're starting to bed down a lot of systems and processes, and then you start to kind of hit these little bumpy spots in the road. You start to see glimpses of success as well as those little bumps. And then years 3 to 5 become the tipping points. But throughout the entire process, when you're trying to do things on your own, often being an entrepreneur and being in business can often be a really lonely place. And if you don't get yourself around other like-minded people, other people that, you would have heard people say, they're my tribe, getting around people that just think very similarly to you, that have the same sort of desires, aspirations and goals that you do, it becomes really hard. So I would highly recommend that you find some people that you just jive with, that you enjoy being around, that you can have the same sort of conversations with. It will make business and your life a whole lot simpler, because often your family won't always understand or see what it is that you're doing. And often they will ask you questions like, what do you actually do? What are you up to? Why don't you get a real job? So you probably, you might be hearing a lot of that stuff. And often those outside influences can also influence what we think on the inside. You'll remember a couple of episodes ago where I spoke about, just taking control of the thoughts that are going through our head, and you realizing and understanding that you are actually the thinker of your thoughts. You are not the thoughts themselves. So when you understand that you are the thinker of your thoughts and you are not the thought, as in, what the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I do something? I'm not good enough. I'm not this and I'm not that. And you're beating yourself up. You're actually just the thinker of those thoughts. And when you understand that you are the thinker of the thought, you then take back the control. You then have the opportunity to go, do you know what? I'm just the thinker of that crazy thought. So let's not think that anymore. Let's think something different. And I talked to you guys in a couple of episodes ago about how you can, move your attention and start thinking about something else, because it is extremely life-changing when you start to do that. I wanted to also just reiterate, will bring to the table, that there are some really, really successful people out there who didn't always start out that way. If you think about Michael Jordan, I don't know if some of you, particularly in lockdown, there's been a few movies going on or documentaries going on in the background in my place, and one of them has been around Michael Jordan. And if you remember in his sort of backstory, he was cut from his high school basketball team, and he went home that day crying and beating himself up because thinking he wasn't good enough. And then he just went back. He kind of grabbed that and used that as some fuel to then go back out and do what he knew that he was born to do, which was to play basketball and play it really, really well. So there's a number of different people throughout history who weren't born born with a silver platter, weren't born into money, weren't born with all of the things that they needed to get their life going. But with consistency and persistency, they were able to get there. So I want you to note down those two things, because they are critical in your ongoing success. And that is, consistency and persistency really does pay off. Because like I was talking about before, when you get through these, cycles of ups and downs or ebbs and flows in your business, you are going to get to a point where, some days it is fantastic and everything's going really, really, really well. And then there will be other days where you start beating yourself up because things are not going so well. And often that is because we are attaching our success to something that is external to us. When we can look inwards and we can start working on ourselves internally, then every day, in the main, is a really good day. But just like I think it was Brad Yates was talking about the other day, there are still times that no matter how old we get or how experienced we are, there are still days where we feel like this. We're wondering, what the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I do something? So and so is doing it better than me. You'll have these little moments of lapses in your thoughts, and being able to harness those and work your way through them. One of the strategies that Brad gave us the other day, which I thought was fantastic, and I haven't used it myself in the past, but I'm going to start to, is the process of tapping, and being able to tap into our inner greatness and allow that to come out. So if you didn't watch the show on Wednesday with Vicky Helm and Brad Yates, I would highly recommend that you go back inside of the Success Secrets for Family, Business and Life group and you watch that, because that will help you. All these tools that we're sharing with you are to help you become better and to enable you to thrive in your business, family and your life. So the other person that I wanted to talk about today is Oprah Winfrey. I absolutely love her. But, she hasn't got to the point that she's got to without some challenges and some things that she's had to overcome, being a very young mother. And a lot of people, unless you've done a bit of research on her, wouldn't even know that had happened to her. That she'd had a baby when she was very young, and then obviously has gone on to do some great things. And she was fired from or demoted from her job as a news anchor because they said she wasn't fit for television. And had she listened to that at that time, she would have just kind of walked away, and we would never, ever have had the blessing of knowing and listening and having Oprah Winfrey impact our lives as she has done for a lot of us. So the same applies to you. There's a few key messages that I suppose I want to get out in today. Is one is you are going to go as you grow up in the entrepreneurial world, you are most likely going to go through those phases of beating yourself up. And I know that I'm not alone with this because I've been to many other events. And it was funny because about a year ago, I was at an event in America and there were a few ladies, girls standing around, and we were talking about this exact thing. And the things that I was saying to myself, all these other women were saying the same thing. They were like, yes, oh my God, I do that too. I just wondered myself, why can't I do it? There was a time where I was really frightened to even just get on camera and talk like this. I didn't think that I had enough to say. I didn't think that what I was going to talk about was going to be useful for anybody, that nobody would listen to me, people would judge me, all of those things. And I'm sharing this with you today and being, really honest and vulnerable. And I would cry and say to my husband, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I do it? I'm watching my peers do this and I just can't do it. And there was something inside of me that was preventing me from being able to get out there and speak my truth, speak what I believed in. And it was the fear of being judged. It was the fear of what are people going to say about me. So I want you to know that you're not alone with that. I want you to know that it is totally okay, and that you can get through it. You can move forward, and one day you will feel confident enough to be able to get on and run a show just like this. How did I get there? Well, there were a couple of things that I did. I realized that I needed to work on myself internally. So I did a lot of work on like what I'm thinking. How do I think? How do I dismiss the negative thoughts that are going on in my head? And I've alluded to some of this in some of the other episodes that I've been talking to you about. And as time goes on, I'll probably share a lot more of this with you so that I can take you on the journey and you can also experience this. And someone here is saying, there are haters out there, but they just don't matter. And when you get to this point, they don't matter to you. But when you're starting out, they do. I can remember when I first put out my very first lead magnet and I had somebody come back, and I can't even remember exactly what he said, but something like, this is a load of rubbish. And it wasn't. It was actually really good. It was helpful to a lot of people, but I took that to heart. And I took that lead magnet down immediately because I thought, oh no, I don't want other people to say that as well. And what actually happened with that is I prevented myself from helping a lot of other people because one person had their opinion, and that is exactly that. It is just their opinion and where they are at, or where they were at in that particular moment. So I've learned that over time there are tools that you can use. So it is about going internal. It is about working on yourself first, because the more we work on ourselves, the better people we can be, and we can show up and be for other people. We have to help ourselves first. And you probably grew up like I did, hearing things like, if you do that, you're selfish. If you that guy over there, man, he's got tickets on himself. He loves himself. So all of those things were really drummed into us at a really young age, that is not a good thing. It's not a good thing to love yourself. It's not a good thing to think highly of yourself. It's not a good thing to speak highly of yourself. All of those things would be, reasons for people to not like you, because it's not good for you to do that. You want to talk about other people other than yourself. So, over time, that gets drummed into us as young children, and we grow up with that. But the truth is, that is not true. And the truth is that we need to speak about ourselves. We need to speak about our triumphs and also our challenges, in the hope that other people will be going through those same challenges. And when you can talk about them, what is challenging to you is probably common to most. Then it gives them an opportunity also to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel and you can get out of it. There's something that I learned, and one of my mentors that I did a program with a guy by the name of Jim Fortin about a year ago, and I have to say that it was really life-changing. The things that a lot of the things that I'm doing now I attribute to what I've learned from him, in terms of going internal and being able to sort of work on yourself. A couple of the things other than what Brad was talking about the other day with tapping. is meditation. So just, being quiet and being in the moment, and, allowing yourself to go internal, and kind of not worry about the daily hassle and the hustle and the grind that we're often, subject ourselves to. So just being quiet. And for those of you that can see my chair in the background there, that's just going to get this light going properly, is where I sit, and I'll have those quiet moments. And there was a process that I learned called the workshop of the mind. And that workshop of the mind allows you to go internally and really just to start, picturing and having a vision of what it is that you're trying to create and what you're trying to do. Really interestingly, I opened up some of the activities that we had to do was like journaling. And as you guys know, I've mentioned this before, I've got the Phoenix Planner, which I use, and I've linked that in a couple of other episodes. But the Phoenix Planner, and in the front of that Phoenix Planner, it gets you to just stop and think about what is the life that you're wanting to create. And a few times I've gone back to that, and I've read some of the things that I've written in there, and I'm like, oh wow, and I'm actually on track to do a lot of that stuff. Equally, I've gone back and I've looked at some of my notes where I've talked about what is wrong with me. Why can't I do things? Why am I struggling at the moment? And I wrote these things down, and I go back and I go back and I read them, and I'm like, I can't even believe that those were words that were coming out of my head, through my pen and pencil, and putting them on pieces of paper. So one of the things I would highly recommend you do is to start journaling. Just start writing things down, because it will help you to see your journey and how far you actually have come. And it will enable you to give yourself, you should give yourself some high fives from time to time and celebrate how well you have come, how far you've come and the things that you have achieved. So I want you to know that you are doing just fine. It doesn't matter where you are right now. If you're in a challenging moment at this time, the thing that I want you to take away from today is when you look back, you're alive, you are breathing. Everything was in the past was okay. You are fine. Everything right now is fine. So therefore, if that is the case, and history tells us that if you were fine in the past, then you are likely to be just fine in the future. And if you're able to take that on board, then everything you do from here on in, you will know that even if it's a challenging time, you are going to get through it. You are going to come out on the other side, and you are going to be just fine. So if there's something that you are wanting to do right now in your life, I would encourage you to just get started. So let me go back to how I got started, even with doing videos like this. And like I said to you, there was a time where I was frightened to do this. Like I would start doing it, and then I would there would become a day where I'd be like, oh, what am I going to talk about? I don't know. And it would be really easy to stop me in that momentum. I would stop being consistent with whatever it was that I was doing, and would change directions. Why? Because it felt like it was easy at that time. So the thing that I would encourage you to do is, whatever it is, whether it's doing a show like this, or it's creating videos, or putting yourself out there, which I know can sometimes be a scary thing to do, I would encourage you to start doing it. Start small. Do one, then do the next one, and get yourself a group of people who can hold you accountable. I am accountable to all of you listeners, all of you watching, to make sure that I front up twice a week and I do a show, and I bring to the table the best of me to share with you, the things that I have learned and the things that are in my toolbox, so that you can take those away and you can implement them into your life. And I guarantee you that you will have things that you can talk about that need to be shared. So don't keep that inside. You've got to unleash your greatness and let it out, and allow people to hear your voice and to share the knowledge and the skill that you have. So I'm just going to looking at a few of my notes here. There was also a book that I read some time ago, and at that time it was funny because the things that often come into your life, like today, if you're watching this show, you are watching it for a reason. You are listening for a reason. This is a message that you need to hear. And at that particular time, I I was going through some challenging times with my brother. My brother was having some challenges, and I was trying to help him with it. And anyhow, this particular book came up in a Facebook news feed, and I was like, oh my God, that's a book that I need to look at right now. And the book was Outwitting the Devil. And I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the members inside of the Success Secrets for Family, Business and Life group on Facebook. They mentioned that book the other day, and it reminded me that I had read that book and how impactful it was on my life. One of the things and I would encourage you to read it. It's called Outwitting the Devil, and it's a book by Napoleon Hill. It's quite. I wouldn't. I listened to the audio version. I wouldn't recommend you do that if you're on your own. It was a little bit creepy to me at that time, because I was sort of sitting in at home on my own listening to it. But it was an extremely good book, in the sense that it was like a conversation with the devil. It was a conversation with the person, and let's just put in quotation marks here, the devil, or whatever whatever you see the devil as. And in my case, it was like that gremlin, that negative voice that comes into our heads. And he was having this conversation with the devil, and was asking, like, where do you live and what do you do? And it really uncovered some things for me. It was like, oh yeah, okay. So we allow the devil into our mind, and it made a correlation for me that when I have the negative thoughts, it was like, oh, that's the devil. I'm allowing the devil to get into my head. And I then thought about, do you know what? If the devil had come to my door, to my front door, and my family were inside and I were inside, and it was knocking at the door, and I answered the door and I saw it, and I saw that it was the devil, what would I do? I would slam that door so freaking fast and tell him to be off, get out of here, get out of my life, you've got no business being at my front door, nor knocking on my door. And I would tell him to go away. So if that were the case, if that's what I would do in this environment, in the physical world, why would I allow him to get inside of my brain and occupy space? Why would I do that? When I made that correlation, it was like, oh, okay, well, I have the power too. If I'm allowing him in my brain, I have the power in my mind to say, in my mind's eye, I'm going to shut the door. I don't allow you in here. You are not welcome here. You can go away. So I've made that connection between the negative thoughts that I have and that to the devil. That was what that book, Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, meant to me. When you read it, it might mean something completely different, but that was something that made a significant change in my life. It was like an aha moment for me, and it allowed me to kind of dismiss those negative thoughts. And I'm just seeing here that on the chat, I'm just going to throw some of these up, because I'm seeing that Reeza's saying you cannot afford the luxury of negative thoughts. And yeah, that is absolutely a great book. I love the stuff that he had put out, and even though he's long gone, he still leaves his legacy with a lot of the good literature that he's left us with. And hi to Teresa, so coming at us from, she's all the way over in Western Australia, so she loves Napoleon Hill too. So I wanted to share these things with you today, because I know that I've wasted so many days, so many nights crying and beating myself up because I thought that I wasn't good enough, and that I was scrolling the Facebook feed, seeing a lot of the people that I know doing really, really well, and wondering why the heck I couldn't do it. What was wrong with me? The answer is absolutely nothing, and there is nothing wrong with you either. But what I did learn is that when you get that there's nothing wrong with you, the rest all becomes mathematics and systems and processes. So when I'm talking to you guys in these shows about, putting systems, processes, and formulas into place, it's to actually help you overcome a lot of the self-negative thought and the self-sabotaging that we do. Because when you can put a system and a process in place, you remove yourself from that. You just become somebody that is going through, you're going through the motions of completing the task at hand. And when you do that, it enables you to move forward, and you get jobs done so quickly without a thought in your mind as to why you're not good enough to do it. So even like this, there is a system and a process that we follow to make sure that I can get on here, that all of my technology works right. I frame up how I'm going to talk to you, how I'm going to put the shows together. All of that becomes a pure system. So, that's how I've overcome it all. That's how I've got to the point where, you might look now and think, well, she's really confident in being able to talk. And look, you guys, right down that camera like that. It didn't start out that way. And so I want you guys to know that it's okay. You all have to start somewhere. The point is just get started. Don't hold back. The sooner you start. I could have been doing this 3 years ago, and I decided I took the hard route, which was, I don't want to do that. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. Blah, blah, blah. Crybaby. So you get over yourself and you just get on and you get it done. And now, I get people that are messaging me saying, hey, thank you very much for that message. When's the next show? And I can't wait. So encouraging you guys to do absolutely that today because I can. It's my birthday tomorrow. I'm going to go and have a great breakfast with my kids and just hang out and enjoy my family's company. And like always, if you want to kind of get a bit of a wrap up on my year, you can go to my personal Facebook page. Every year I sort of put a bit of a wrap on there and give my friends and family a bit of an insight as to how my year has gone. And even though 2020 has started with this like big blip, at the beginning of this year for us, I think there's so many good things that have come out of having this challenging time. And it is all just a matter of perspective and a matter of way in which you look at things. So I would, with that being said, I'm going to say move forward in your day really positively, be kind and gentle on yourself, take some time out to appreciate, all the little things in life. And live your life unlocked. Just go, and you're the person that's got the key. Grab that key, put it in the lock hole, unlock yourself, and allow your greatness to come out. So that being said, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me today. Live your life unlocked, and I will see you guys again next Tuesday for America and Wednesday in Australia and New Zealand. And I'll share something else that's going to have, worksheets and workbooks and all that sort of stuff next week. But today I have got something a little bit special for you. It's an ebook I wrote a little while ago. It goes through sort of the 5 steps that I've taken to build a successful business. I'm going to give that to you guys. It'll be in the Success Secrets for Business, Family and Life. You can go to our Facebook group into the file section and you can pick it up from there. So have a stunning day, and I'll talk to you guys again next week. See ya.